All right, so there's two ways you can do this part of the drill. I would sometimes do this while the interior guys are doing their basic step and buzzing. I would have the ends off to the side like you see here, or depending on the style defense you run, while the interior guys are doing the double teams at the end of the progression, you could have the defensive ends to the other side of the sled working through their run reads. So again, do it how you need to. And with this as well, you could always add a guy back here so that you're working your tackling technique like we talked about. And then you could add a football and do the punch out technique as well. All right, so what we're going to get here is he's going to inside release, or he's going to base block, or he's going to reach block. If he's inside releasing, we want to make sure that the end gets hands on. He's going to ride his jam all the way down to his gap. So we don't want to just get hands on. We want to be able to step and close a gap as we keep hands to that outside shoulder. And that keeps him from climbing to the second level, but that also puts the defensive end in a good position. If they were to kick out, it gets him right to where he needs to be to work his technique for a trapper. If he gets a base block, he's going to attack the same spot, the outside shoulder. He's going to anchor, and he's going to squeeze the gap down. If he gets a reach block, there's a couple different ways you can teach this. Some like to teach the punch and stab with the outside arm, keeping the hips square. Some guys will teach to keep the outside arm free. I was big on keeping the outside arm free. Then you could still work get off moves as needed. With the outside arm, you could still as well. So it just depends on what you like. Any type of reach block, though, I think a big key to the technique is making sure that you're pressing this guy vertical. So we want to seal this outside gap off, and we do that by driving this guy to the backfield to force that back to have to plant and then cut back inside to where all the help is at. We actually do a sled progression too, or not sled progression, but just like a blocking progression for reach blocks where these guys are going to be in different alignments. And so it's going to give them, different looks as to whether or not they got the outside, if he was head up or inside. So if this dude's fast off the ball and he hooks me right away, well, now I know I have to work that technique from the inside shade. And so we would do that three different ways to the one side and then three different ways to the right side. So we'll go ahead and watch. He knows what's coming. You can do this drill too where it's up to him to determine what type of block out of the three, or you can start off with telling them what's coming so they can work the technique. And then as they get better, you have them not know. And then one other thing I'll add before we watch it is this guy's technique is important too. And so when I coached O-line, I taught my tackles that when you inside release, the worst thing that can happen is that the defensive end jams you and then you don't get to climb to the next level. So with that being said, these guys are needing to give as much effort as possible to give them the best look. So when you're watching film and you're watching the opponent and you see the inside release, you want to replicate what that guy does as much as possible. And that's stuff that you can put on your players to look out for. All right, so he's going to jam and squeeze, pressing him down to his gap, keeping hands on, and he wants to square back up to the backfield. Obviously, we know that this play would flow, so that sled pad would probably be more to the inside, but not a bad job. Defensive ends could get. I won't spend as much time talking through the technique as I discussed it in the jam and squeeze, but this is going to be the reach block. So again, he's going to work the technique that we talked about. You could do a separate drill for everybody to work reach blocks. And then again, like as stated, you could put a ball carrier back here with or without the ball to work your tackling form and then also to work your takeaway techniques. So we'll go through and hope he does a good job here. Fights outside and then would like him to be a little bit more square. But again, that's stuff that you coach and correct. That we would go through in this drill would be a base block where the offensive lineman's trying to drive us out. Could be, various different types of run plays to do this. So the DN again is going to be responsible for his outside gap. He's going to feel it and anchor. As he anchors and feels like he's getting driven out, he's going to try to press this guy to squeeze the gap back down. So we'll watch it real quick. He does a good job keeping his feet buzzing and then squaring up his feet.